At the end of the day, it's all about freedom.
The big disconnect here is that they're able, because Obama left Iraq when I guess we had to, and we were essentially kicked out of the country, the neocons kind of give him cover by saying the reason we're seeing all of this extremism is because we didn't stay the course and we pulled out too early. But if you look into it at all, it's very clearly that we sent a whole bunch of arms into the FSA that got into the hands of ISIS. They took those arms to go back into Iraq and take all the stockpiled weapons there. And there's a point that I heard you make. I was listening to the Lew Rockwell show, and you were on as a guest. And you made the point that I think you were just speculating, but you said, man, when ISIS got back into Iraq and got all those stockpiled weapons, they sure knew how to use them right away. Isn't it somewhat interesting the level of training that this relatively, at least at the beginning, relatively small fighting group demonstrated?
Yeah, there's so many big questions like that. How are they able to use these so quickly? How are they able to so easily in Iraq defeat an Iraqi army that we had spent billions of dollars training? These guys should have been the best fighting force in the region, and all of a sudden a bunch of guys in Toyota pickups came rolling in and they ran away scared. It just doesn't add up at all. But yeah. This whole thing about if we'd stayed longer, if we dropped a few more bombs, they're still saying this about Vietnam. This is the neocon stock in trade. If we can't overthrow a government with 500,000 troops and God knows how many thousands and thousands of missiles, then what would it take? They'll never answer that. But in Libya, by the way, the other thing that I should mention, and I think one of them is a sort of psychological sleight of hand. This is about ISIS. The other thing is, remember, we were supposed to go in there to overthrow a tyrant, this horrible Gaddafi, and he wasn't a great guy by any stretch, neither is Obama or his predecessors. But nevertheless, we're going to give them democracy. We're going to give them a say in their government. This sounds great. Well, it turns out the government that called up Obama and said, hey, please start bombing us again, was a government that was installed by the UN.
Right.
This government in no way or shape or form reflects the will of the Libyan people. This is the will of outside interests.
Oh yeah, I mean, imagine if the UN and US and NATO forces all pulled back and let that government defend itself. We'd see how long that would be the voice of the people. The government would last for about a day.
And the other thing that's happening is the apparent release of Saif Gaddafi, the chosen heir of Muammar Gaddafi, he had been held by some militias. And it shouldn't surprise anyone that now the movement that his father led is becoming much more popular, because as less than ideal as things were, they were a heck of a lot better than now. So there was a huge rise in the popularity of the Green movement that Gaddafi's father led. And with Gaddafi free, you see an increase in interest in maybe having Gaddafi come back, maybe the son come back. The son is more urbane. He was educated. He's Western educated. He wears a suit rather than these crazy get-ups that his father wore. And I think that a lot of this bombing has to do with nipping that in the bud. And the first city they bombed, of course, was Sirte, which is the hometown of Gaddafi. So I think there is an element of, oh no, just imagine if Gaddafi comes back, people are going to really recognize what a mess up this is. So I think that's a big factor too.